Recording live. Hey, this is Mark Rosen, Coach Rozy. We're here with Coach Rozy Chalk Talk, and we have in-house live. Everybody can wave. Evan Greeneway popped in, and we appreciate him being here. Evan, for those that don't know, we'll kind of get into the whole background, but tell folks who are listening maybe who you are, where you're. I mean, you're from Yankton, went from South Dakota State, but kind of start where you grew up from here. Kind of your road from being from here and what got you to South Dakota State, then we'll talk about some of the other stuff.
So, like you said, I played high school ball here in Yankton, and I grew up here. And then after I got done with high school, I had two Division I, offers, if you call them. They weren't scholarship offers, but they were walk-on offers. And one was at Iowa State, and one was at South Dakota State. And I visited both places, and there had been a lot of guys from Yankton that had gone to SDSU. Kellen Solik, Lane Swatsky, a couple other guys that had gone and been in athletics, and I talked to them, and that was more of like that family fit that Yankton always had is your teammates are your brothers and that kind of stuff, and
right.
The coaches interact with you, and you can feel like they're really on your side, and that and Iowa State was going to be really, really expensive, and I knew that, and so that was maybe another factor into it, but I definitely made the right choice. I ended up going to SDSU, redshirted my freshman year, went in as a tight end, and then after the first semester I got moved to offensive line. I just wasn't quite fast enough to play tight end, which, looking back on it, I can't really complain. It all worked out for me, so, and then I just finished up my last season here, and then for the last few months I've been training for my chance at the NFL, so.
So where's that at right now? A lot of people are wondering, I know your name was in the hat for the draft. The draft came. If people are wondering, where are you at with that right now, with your continued pursuit to get into the NFL?
Yep. So I didn't get drafted, and I didn't get signed right away as an undrafted free agent. But I've been talking to my agent, and there's still some teams that are interested in calling and doing some stuff. So right now it's just kind of a waiting game where when I get the call, I really. All I need is an opportunity, and that's all I've really asked for. That's all I got. Yeah. When I went to college, that's all I needed. That's all I was given.
And we'll kind of come back to some of this, but let me ask you this: how right now? How I know you're preparing still physically, but how are you dealing? Just because there's a lot of different things going on, from not even able to train normally to I know you went to a place trained. You've been coming here trained, doing some different things, but from a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint, and then even just spiritually keep your spirits up. What are you doing to kind of keep that in check? Because there can be times, especially I know when you went through the draft, it's some teams have been talking. You're thinking, hey, maybe I have a chance getting drafted, and it's okay, let down, got to get myself back up, then let down, get myself back up. How do you kind of keep on that upbeat all the time, or kind of keep yourself? What mentally do you say to yourself during this kind of time period when there is a little bit of a gap?
Yeah, it kind of all started so we had pro day at SDSU was supposed to be March 27th, and then with the whole outbreak, they ended up canceling it, and then we just had to do some videos and send that stuff in, and that's kind of little things that set you back a little bit, and then it did kind of affect me for a little bit because I was really disappointed that I wasn't able to do that, because it's it's what you worked for a long time, and then what you really focused on for the last 3-4 months was making sure that you were going to be able to show up and show out in front of those scouts and stuff, and then that'd be really be able to help you. And it was really disappointing, and it did bring me down for a little bit. But TJ Carlson is our chaplain for the SDSU football team, and he always sends some good Bible spiritual stuff out like that, and so really diving into that, and just knowing that God has that plan for me, and that while this might not be the path that I thought was going to get me there, I still believe that I still have that, and just visualizing it every night before I go to bed, just visualizing not a specific team, but just someone calling me and someone saying that they want me there, and that just kind of reaffirms that in my mind, that that's coming and that's going to be there, and that when my opportunity comes, I need to be ready. I need to be in the best shape that I can be. I need to be in positive mindset, because being sad or being disappointed that something didn't happen, my coach in college always told me it's okay to be disappointed, but don't get discouraged.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
you got
like
to
that.
you got to have that positive attitude. You can be disappointed that something didn't happen the way you wanted it to.
And you should be, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's just human. Like being a
Yeah.
human, you're going to be disappointed, right?
There's nothing wrong with being disappointed. You
Right.
can be disappointed that you didn't play up to what you needed to, but the minute you start being discouraged with yourself, like that's where you start taking steps backward. You can use being disappointed to help push you forward,
Right.
but once you start being discouraged, that's what really hurts you, and that's really hard to overcome.
Well, I'm going to take a step way back. So, like when you were, in grade school, when you're in junior high school, when you were moving up to like, did you know when you were like a little kid, it was like, I'm going to be an athlete and I'm going to play pro basketball, or I'm going to play pro football. Like when you're in third, fourth, and fifth grade, I think all little kids do. But for moving from there, like, every little kid goes, I'm going to be playing football, or I'm going to be a professional baseball player or basketball player. Then you move through to like junior high to go, yeah, I don't know if this sports stuff's for me, or has there always been sports stuff? And then when, like, was it a junior, senior year, like, hey, I think I can play? Because I think there's always that question. It's like, I think I can play college ball. And then in college go, hey, I think I might have an opportunity. Like, during those periods from when you're a little kid all the way up to, junior and senior in college, to go, hey, I think I have the opportunity. I maybe have the gifts to go to the next level. Can you kind of go through that process as a little fart all the way to now?
Yep. So, I mean, as a kid, like every kid wants to, like you said, every kid wants to be a professional athlete. I mean, for the most part, and I was no different. I wanted to be a professional football player. Ever since my mom made me go to a football camp when I was in third grade, and I did not want to go, and she was like, "Nope, you're going." And I'm so glad that she pushed me to do that, because.
So you're in that third grade. You didn't like, I want to go play football. Like, I'm going to this football camp, Mom. She was like, you're gonna go.
Nope. Yep. She was like, "You're gonna go," and so I ended up going, and I came back, and I just loved it. And I mean, football every day at recess, and I was playing it all the time, and I loved football. And I love basketball too, but football just had a little bit more of a special place in my heart. And then, I was never like the best athlete. I had a lot of size, but I wasn't. I mean, especially like freshman, sophomore year, I was really uncoordinated. And even junior year, I was still pretty uncoordinated, but I made a good jump between junior and senior year. And part of that came, so after the junior year of football was over, we all had, like, a coach took players, so you got a one-on-one meeting with a coach, and I got Brady Muth. And, I had a one-on-one meeting with him, and he was the first person that kind of like sat me down. He was like, this is, like, you can play college football. Like, if you work at it this summer and you get, you have that potential to be able to do that. And that was something, like, his belief in me and everything like that, that talk that we had, that really,
So what was your self-talk like during that time period? Because we have kids now, like high school kids, and something, well, can I play? Can I maybe not play? And then the process, did you start thinking, man, like D1, and I'm not knocking any schools, but were you thinking maybe like an NAIA school, or what was your process at that? When Brady Blue says you can play college ball, I mean, are you going, oh, I'm going to Alabama, I'm going to be, are you thinking like, I'm going to be like that? Or is it like, man, if I could just go play college ball, wouldn't that be cool? What was kind of your thought?
I definitely wanted to play Division I. I mean, and it's no knock on D2 or anything like that.
Right.
I mean, I've known a lot of people that did that. They were really successful. They enjoyed it.
Right.
But for me, I just believed that that's something that I could do, is I could play Division I football. And, I had a chance to go to an FBS school, and I chose an FCS over it. And I don't regret that decision. I loved my time at SDSU. I loved everything about it. And I did have some offers and stuff from some smaller schools. And,
Right.
I mean, I thought about it, but I mean, SDSU was the place that I wanted to be, so that's what I ended up doing.
So then when you get to SDSU, are you, and I have one of my questions written down, like information that maybe you can tell, like, we just put a thing out, because we have kids that sign, it's not just football, but we had like over 20, almost 30 kids from the different schools in the area that have an opportunity to go on and play, college sports, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's kind of a gap between going from high school to all of a sudden it's like those kids now in May are going to graduate. What would you, from your standpoint, what did you see going in as a freshman and junior? Maybe some like parental advice that you could give those kids, saying, look, just be aware of this as you're going, because you go from being a big dog a little bit as a senior to now it's a flip again, and you're kind of strutting around a little bit like, hey, I'm pretty good.
Yep.
Whether it's no matter what school you're coming from, and you're put in a situation where there's a lot of good folks, and now you're working with some boys or girls that are 3-4 years older and experienced. So can you kind of maybe give some insight or what you went through as a freshman going into a college situation, especially a D1 college situation?
Yeah. So one thing that I would say is, I know in like high school and stuff, it's really easy when you're the best player on the team, or you're one of those best players. You're one of the best players in the state. Like, it's really easy to have that confidence and everything, and don't lose that. But at the same time, like when you get to that next level, everyone that you're looking at was exactly what you were a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago, and then they've had all this time playing at a higher level to get better. And there's some people that can step into that role right away, where they just go from being a senior in high school to a freshman, and they're really good.
But that percentage is pretty small.
That percentage is pretty small. A lot of football players redshirt, and a lot of other sports redshirt too. And there's some that don't. But definitely don't be that arrogant player that thinks that they're, when you're a senior, do you want a freshman stepping in and being like, oh yeah, I'm just as good as you, even though you know that they're not? No, that's just, and you see that sometimes. But the piece of advice that I would give is find an older guy that is really respected by the program, is really liked, has done things the right way that you can see, and just do what he does. I had a lot of guys when I got to SDSU, like you can tell right away who the leaders on the team are, who the people that do things the right way are.
What do you see in those, like when you stepped in, and I know you became a leader, but just for maybe somebody listening, or even a younger kid who said, like, like a lot of times I think with the young kids we see, and even going to college, like, well, if I'm loud and screaming, I'm the leader of the bunch, and it's like, maybe not. What do you see from your standpoint? Because you were one of the leaders in Team Cat. Like, what do you see, and what is your definition then? It's like, find those leaders, because you'll be able to tell. Yep. Well, like I would say, it's not the person maybe standing up and doing the screaming. Mm-hmm. It's what characteristics do you look at from a leadership standpoint?
So I think it kind of varies, because there's like different leaders. There's more quiet leaders, and then there's more vocal leaders, and then you have your in-betweens and stuff. So I think you have to kind of like tailor it to your personality. Like me, I wasn't going to stand up and I wasn't going to scream at people all the time. And so one of the people that I really like connected with and wanted to be like, we had a center who was a really great player for us. He was a captain for, I believe, 3 years, like a 4-year starter. He was a phenomenal player. And he wasn't a yeller, he wasn't a screamer, but he did things the right way. Like when you go into a meeting, he had a notebook out and a pencil. Like he was taking notes. He was studying film all the time. He was a guy that would help you out if you needed help, but at the same time, he was going to hold you to a high standard. And that was a person that I really like connected with and wanted to be like a lot. And so I would try and emulate some of the things that he did. But and he wasn't quite as vocal, but then there's some more vocal players that, they can yell and scream and it comes off, better than, some other people that do it. And so it kind of depends on your personality, like what type of person you are. So I think if you can just find someone that, and you kind of know, you kind of know. It's just one of those things that you just got to feel out. But I would definitely say try and find someone to emulate. Even if it's like for football, someone in your position group, like a junior or a senior that's been there for a long time, has had some success. And
so let me ask you this: what was the biggest challenge going in? Did you like time-wise? I know people put time in as a high school athlete, but were you overwhelmed by like the amount of time that was dedicated to the sport? Was it, like when you went in, you're like, wow, I didn't understand or know this. Like it was kind of a surprise to you, maybe one from a good standpoint or from a like, wow, kind of a negative standpoint. Either one. How would you say when you went in as your first year or so to go, wow, like this is college?
Yep. So one of the things for me was like how detail oriented it is. Like all the different things on the football field. Like my coach would like draw stuff up on the board, and he'd just like say a bunch of things. And like everyone knew what he was talking about, but I didn't quite know everything that he was talking about. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to raise my hand and ask this in the middle of a meeting, because then, I don't want to be looked at.
I want to be that guy.
Yeah. Those guys that look around like, did he seriously just ask that? Like, I didn't want to be that guy. And don't be afraid to ask questions, because, that's a lesson that I learned that I told every year when a freshman came in. I was like, hey, listen, like I didn't know what he was talking about when he said like line up at a 4-eye. Like I didn't know what that meant, and I looked like I look like a jackwagon out there because it'd take me like 3 tries to get it, and then finally I just asked someone, and then they explained it to me, and it was really easy and it was really simple, but I didn't know. But I mean, so I told everyone, I was like, hey, every freshman that came in, I was like, hey, just ask questions, and if you don't want to ask him in front of everyone, ask him separate. If you don't want to ask him, just ask me. Like I will tell you, because I had that for like the first 3 months. I didn't know what the techniques were, how he said them, and that was just, and it was, I mean, it's good because the detail of the game and like film and watching stuff like that, it just slows everything down. And when you go from high school to college, it's the same thing, but everything's sped up twice as fast. And guys are a lot bigger, faster, stronger, and have better technique.
And that's, to move to the next level, that's, like when I had a chance to be around that, people said, what's the difference? I said, your linebackers, your linemen are moving as fast as your linebackers moving fast as defensive backs, and the defensive backs are going, holy crap. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
It just moves, and the guys are bigger, but they're moving the pace of some different guys. Like, when you played, I'm sure some teams you say, well, that dude, like 1 or 2 guys, like, wow, those guys are pretty good, moving pretty fast. Well, now imagine them again, you going up to another level. All the guys are moving, and it just, the game moves so fast, and that's the study part. I think folks kind of lose track that there is a lot of study behind it. They think, oh wow, you like being a pro athlete, it's like, wow, it's amazing. You get to go practice a couple hours a day, and you have the rest of the day off. Where you go in and have an opportunity to be there. It's like going in at 5 in the morning. The players are there till 8, 9 o'clock at night because there's 3 practices and meetings and film breakdown. And like in college compared to like high school, what was from the study standpoint and the breakdown, like meetings and film breakdown, was that a surprise to you of the amount of time that was spent in meetings and breakdown and the things that off the football field, the time spent, was that kind of surprising to you?
Like, yes and no. Like, I knew there'd be more than there was in high school, but at the same time, it was, you get out of it what you put into it. So,
right.
Like, the meetings were long sometimes, yeah, but then on top of that, I mean, if you wanted to be really good, you'd watch more on your own, and it just depended on how much you wanted to watch by yourself or, with the guy next to you. Like, I'd watch film with when I was playing on the right tackle, I'd watch film with the right guard, and so then that way we were always on the same page with what was going on, and it was just one of those things where you can invest as much as you want to or as little as you want to. It's just what you do with your time, and I mean,
so how do you think it carries over to other things? Like, I always say sports relates to life. You know what I mean? Because I know you can be a pretty good janitor, you can be a great janitor, you can be a pretty good baker, you can be a great baker, and I think it becomes like the things that you do outside. Because a baker's like, well, it's to be a baker, you're going to bake bread, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the guy that studies, like, well, how do you make sour bread? How do you make sourdough bread? How do you make, and learns the different ways, and there's different techniques to make bread, to go all of a sudden, wow, you're the best bread maker in the world, instead of just going, well, you're a bread maker.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, that's kind of how I think of it too. Like, you can really I always relate the story where a good buddy of mine was the coach with the Ravens. Now he's with the Chicago Bears, but he said Ray Lewis would always be, like you mentioned and remind me that, come in the classroom, be the first, he'd sit in the front row, have his notebook out, and he said, as a coach, you better be prepared, because Ray Lewis was sitting right at the front with his pencil and pen out, taking notes, and if you didn't know what you were talking about, because he'd been doing it for so long, he said, as a coach, he made me better because I had to be prepared. He said he made the other players better too, but it's that preparation.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, you can really see it at a college level, like those guys that, you can tell that they don't take their preparation as seriously, and then it can affect, the way that they play. And I mean, even myself, there's some games that I prepared for more than other games. If you're, it's human nature that when you start to play a team that's, you go from playing SDSU or Iowa State or whatever, like these bigger schools that are really strong, to maybe playing like a smaller school that, doesn't have any scholarships or something like that. Like, we played a few of those, and, the tendency is to relax, and that's one thing that you really have to fight. And like, early on in my career, I didn't quite understand that as much. And then, as it progressed, then I was able to figure out that it doesn't matter who you're playing. You need to prepare as if you're, going into the fight of your life. And then if you prepare like that, it gives you the best chance to win. And then at the end, you're going to know that you did what you needed to do, because it's a really crappy feeling when you like leave a field or leave a court or leave, a course where you know you could have played better. And you're always going to kind of have that a little bit, but how short you fell is up to you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So best game, worst game in college? Best game where you walked off and just like you said, you were like, I don't even need to watch the film. I knew that was a good one. And you walked off and said, I don't want to watch the film because that was a bad one.
God.
And maybe it's because of the person you played, or maybe it was just the team, or was it a thing where you weren't, or they're just like, wow, that was just, we've been in situations as a coach and as a player, when I'm an old player, but as a coach, it's like things just didn't flow. It's like the stuff we worked on didn't click, the timing was off, just a lot of things went bad. And it's like that was a bad game, and then all of a sudden you play another game, and it's like we couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, did you have some of this? Maybe I'm throwing you into the hot water right here.
Oh,
people watching.
There's a few games where like after I got done, I was like, oh God, I don't want to go to film on Monday. This is not going to be good. I know that we did not play as good as we should have. And I mean, as a line, it's kind of like you don't often have where one lineman just plays excellent and then the other four just don't play very well. Like it's a collective thing where if one doesn't play well, you got to kind of elevate everyone up. And Hobo Day, we played UNI, and it was raining and it was windy and it was cold, and I remember they jumped out to an early lead and it just kind of snowballed from there, and it did not go well. And I just remember thinking to myself after that game, I was like, I do not want to watch this film. But I mean, on the other side of that, there's a lot of games where, like, remember Youngstown, like that game, I was like, oh God, I can't wait to go into the film room on Monday because that is going to be some good times. Like, you have great blocks, or you transition some stuff off. We played Southern Illinois 2 years ago, and that one was really good. We played really well as an O-line, and I mean, those are the games that you always want to watch on film. But it's where you didn't play as well too that you need to make sure you watch those and understand why. Why did I get beat on this? Because I mean, just like you watch films on other team watches film on you, and they're like, oh well, I saw that this tackle got beat by this move 3 times last week. Maybe I should just incorporate that into my arsenal, what I do. Like, that's one thing that I think a lot of younger players need to understand is in high school, if you got beat by a move, like the odds that you see that next week, 50-50, whether that guy really did his film study and like wants to. But in college, if you get beat by something, you're going to see it the next week. Like, I mean, even if you're not playing the same type of player, like sometimes I'd play smaller, faster DNs, sometimes I'd play bigger, stronger ones. Like, even then, like they'd try and incorporate some kind of that move. Like if your redirection wasn't very good on your second kick, they'd be trying to do that just to mess with you and just exploit that little bit of a weakness that you showed on film that last week. So then we always did where we'd pick 2 things at the beginning of the week that you really wanted to work on, and you do it after the Monday meeting before the Tuesday practice. You decide 2 things like, all right, I want to do better with keeping my outside hand high so that way I can punch better, or I want to work on my redirection off that second step because I know that's something I've been struggling with. So just not a lot, but just picking small things that like 1 or 2 things to work on at one time. So then that way, like you really focus on those, you get really good at those, and then then you can not think about it, and then they're just more natural, more smooth. But if you focus on those a lot, then they come, and then you don't have to think about those, and you can move on and think about some other things.
So for you, was it mental or physical part for preparation? What was easier for you?
Ooh, I'd almost say the physical part was easier. Like practice,
just like going in and do it. And
going in and like I really like walking through stuff. Like I could see something on film, but like I always want to walk through it first to get like that feeling down, and then I can go back and I can watch it on film and then know like, okay, this is exactly how this is going to look to me. But watching a lot of film, like watching hours and hours of film is, tough. It's tough. You're like, oh God, I've seen this play 8 times. I know exactly what happens. But I mean, it's a lot.
So what are you doing now for preparation from? I mean, I know you're lifting and running and doing that stuff, but are you doing anything else from a mental prep? Or I guess it's hard if you don't know the team. Or are you still doing are you looking like scheme things? Or are you looking at doing any like mental and like you said, not just the physical prep, but is there other stuff that you're doing? Like what's your, I guess your day consists of right now I know you're home now with the virus and stuff. You're not in a training facility. You're still getting your training in. But kind of what does a day look like in the life of Edward? Are you still going out doing some lumberjacking with Eric Moore and stuff? Are you doing any of that type of stuff, or are you really just working out, focusing in on like mental prep, or what are you doing? Like what's your day consist of?
Yeah, so usually I get up and then, you know, diet's been a huge thing where that's been a lot better and caused me to be, you know, be a better athlete is like the diet and stuff like that.
What have you changed diet-wise? What would you say, like, because, and I always say you can't outwork a bad diet. That's
Yep.
what we tell our athletes and stuff too, but that's hard to do. So what, like, tweaks in the last, let's just say 6 months that you've made in the last 6 months to tweak?
So I would say like the biggest one that I did was I cut out like a lot of carbs, like bread and stuff like that. Like I cut that out and then I replaced that with, so the type of training that I've been doing and stuff is like really like high intensity stuff like that. And so getting like protein from like fat and stuff like that, just to give your body enough energy to be able to go. I went through a lot of meat, like when I was up there, and I still do. And like, it was like 6 eggs for breakfast and then another 6 when you get back from your workout at least, and then you can go have lunch a little bit after that. And it was like, oh, we'll mix a pound of sausage with these eggs and then we'll just eat that. And I mean, I hate eggs so much just from eating them. Oh God, eating them every meal or every breakfast, and oh God. And I always used to have like eggs and toast, you know, and then I cut out the toast and I was like,
just eggs, a couple more eggs.
Just a couple more eggs to
So
fill
what are
that
you doing
space.
for like recovery, like regeneration? Are you do anything like you get? I guess you can't get massages now and stuff too. So that's, I mean, maybe it's opening up now. But so what are you doing for like recovery stuff? Like after a workout, what were you doing to recover so you could come back the next day and work out hard?
I've taken like some small supplements. Like I got shown this. It's like some amino acids.
Yeah.
Just some. I mean, it's not really like anything big or flashy, but just a little bit like that, just to help with like
The protein system, break down the protein and the.
Yep, and then I started doing yoga too, which, you know, back when I was younger, I was like, yoga, it's for old people. I don't need to do that. And then, you know, once I started doing it, I was like, God, I feel so much better. Like,
Well, I know we talked about, because we got you stretching pretty good there
yeah,
for a period. Then I know you went even in college. You're like, hey, coach, can you send me some stretches? Because
yeah,
like you kind of got away from that and now got back to that.
yeah, got back to that, and I just downloaded an app on my phone, and then it's just got these different yoga things. So like, there's like a morning workout, at night, stretch out one. There's just a bunch of different ones, and so I just kind of
I had down as a question: what crazy or different routine or habits do you have to keep you on track, help to prepare for success? Maybe not even in sports. Like I give an example, I get up like really early in the morning. I think it just gives me a jump on the day because I get a lot done. Yep. So would you think it is that, like, you set time aside, like, are you going to do your yoga every night at 7, or is it like, I'm going to do my yoga tonight? Or are you pretty set, like, you have a pretty good routine and a set schedule most days?
For the most part, it's a pretty good set schedule, but like some days it's a little different. Like, I don't always work out at the same time. I was, but now I just kind of like let my morning go, and just whenever I am prepared, then I go. Like,
right.
I don't rush the breakfast. Like, I don't just try and like shove it all down to make sure that I can, get working out by 6:30. It's, I like take my time with it, and I mean, I have. It's either I'm gonna spend a little bit more time in the morning doing it, or I'm gonna be at home a little bit more after it. You know, it's like it's one or the other. So I mean,
but you kind of have your checklist of things that you're gonna get done. Like, I'm gonna get this done today. Now I might have started at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow might be at 8:30. Like, I'm not so rigid there, but I know I have my 5 things I need to get done. I need to get my stretching done, my workout done, my running done, my whatever those things might be. You have those pretty well. Like, these are my kind of go-to things that I need to make sure I get done every day.
Yeah, and I have like, so the things that you need to get done every day, running, working out, the stretching that I want to do with the yoga and everything like that. Like, I want to have the meals that I want to have and stuff. And then there's also the things that like are a little bit different every day. Like, you write it down. Like, one thing that I learned, again, I learned this from the guy that I was trying to emulate, is he was like, before the day, like before I go to bed, I write down like 5 things that I want to get done the next day. Like 5, I want to clean my car, I want to clean my room, I want to, I need to go to the store and like get these things so I can prep for meals for the week or something like that. So like just 5 things that you want to get done the next day, and then at the end of the day you go back to those and you're like, all right, did I get all these done? Did I get done what I needed to? And if I didn't, why didn't I?
So how long have you been doing that? Have you been doing that since like freshman?
That I didn't learn until I was a little bit later in schools. I think it was like junior year that I learned that one.
Has that helped?
Yeah, it's when you can see something and you see what you need to do, and then just the satisfaction of like that crossing it off, like that you got it done. That's just, to me, that's a really good feeling.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean that, and they can be small things to start, and then maybe you want to start like transitioning to some bigger things, because like your time in a day is so valuable. Like, what are you gonna do with that time? And I mean, I have, everyone wastes time. Like, I've done some things where like I waste time. Like, I look back at the day and I'm like, I really didn't need to do that. But you make little excuses for it or whatever. But I mean, you always need to be trying to get something done, move forward in some way. And I mean, going back and maybe like watching, I've gone back and I've watched film from like different games and stuff like toward the end of my career that I wanted to see, all right, like this was a problem that I had, like what drills am I doing to make sure that I don't make that same mistake when I get to the next level, because a bigger, faster, stronger, smarter guy is going to figure out that, in the first hour of me being there, that I can't do this certain thing, and I need to make sure that.
So he's going to do that, and he's going to bring out your weakness. So and I have this down too. How do you get the negative out of your head like that? Like, I'm watching film, so I don't go back to the negative. Do you have tricks or tips, or how do you get this negative maybe that comes towards you? Because I've been around you, you seem a pretty positive person, and not saying that negative stuff doesn't come your way. How do you kind of hammer the negative or keep the negative away from, whether it's what you're hearing from people that you're around, or do you have like a tips, tricks?
So like one thing that, like in the first part of my career, like I was really scared. Like I was, because I'd go out there and I'd play against, when I first started like playing, I was a sophomore. And so you'd go out there and like you'd play against an All-American, or you'd play against someone that's a fifth-year senior that's, they're bigger, faster, stronger than you in every aspect. And, you're like, crap, this
is going to be a long day.
This is going to be a long day. And, it wasn't until, so I always thought back to like, have you ever seen Rocky when he goes and fights Ivan Drago, and then he's like getting his ass kicked for the first part of it, and then he cuts him. And then what I'd always think about is when his trainer goes, see, he's not a machine, he's a man. Like, that thought in my head, like, I'm not playing anything that's not what I've seen before. Like, I've played against incredible players on my team, like at SDSU. Like, no one that I'm going to play is just so much bigger, faster, stronger than me that I'm just going to be embarrassed every time I go out there. Like, it's just a person across from me. There's nothing, like, in my mind, there's nothing really special about that person. Like, I'm just as good as they are. Like, I can do this. And that was one thing that when I started telling myself that, then, my game started shifting, where it wasn't as much about, all right, just try not to get beat. It was more about trying to beat the other person. If
and
that
figuring
makes
out
sense.
ways, to figure out ways to beat. Like, yes, he's big, fast, and strong. So it's almost like you're saying, I got to go back and figure out, and that comes back to the study and the prep. It's like, then I got to figure out ways, because I have weaknesses, so do they. I just got to figure that out. Right?
Yep. And you gotta. I mean, it's a cat and mouse game, especially playing on the line. It's like, all right. I remember, like, I watched some Joe Thomas stuff because he was a really great, offensive lineman, left tackle. And, I mean, one of the things that he said is, like, it's not about winning, like, every battle, but you save that move for when you really need it. And so, like, as an offensive lineman, you save, like I know this one guy really liked to hand swipe and, like, chop and rip. So then, like, when I knew it was, like, a really key situation that he was going to do that, you give him a little, like, fake punch, like, put the hand out there for him to swipe, and then you pull it back right away, and then when he hits nothing, he falls, and you jump on top of him, and then it's a clean pocket for the quarterback to throw out of. Like, it's finding what they really like to do and what you're not quite good
cat
at.
And mouse.
And it's just that cat and mouse game of going back and forth, and then the next time he's going to be a little wary about it, and then you can maybe change it up and jump him. And it's just one of those things that you just got to kind of feel it out.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, and I know we've been jabbing here for a little bit, and I just have written down here, what do you hope your teammates, either from high school or even college and friends, remember most about you when they speak about you to others 8 to 10 years from now?
You know, my freshman year, we did like like senior talks at the end of the year. And I just remember like everyone always talked so highly of this. We had a long snapper and his name was Thayer Trenham. And like everyone just always talked about like what a great guy he was. Like he always did what was right. And like, I mean, I was like, God, I really hope that people say that about me. Like that I did things the right way and that I helped people out when they needed it. And I went out of my way so that I could help other people and be a good example for other people. And, you know, I mean, I think that I did enough when I was at SDSU. You know, I was always trying to help other people and always trying to help the younger guys. And, you know, you just hope that you were respected enough. And, you know, I believe that I was. And you just hope that they have those. They know that they could call on you if they needed you.
You do your best. And
Yeah.
so let me ask you this: so processed, and you know, we're saying our hopes and prayers and blessings. We hope we showered blessings and stuff. So the road, you make it in the NFL. Like, do you have in your head, like, hey, this is a 3-year gig, a 5-year gig, or I'm going to kind of just play it as it comes. Good Lord blesses. If the things, you know, and you know, hopefully it doesn't. But if the doors don't open the way you hope they do, is it like, oh my gosh, I'm going to curl up in a ball and shrivel away? Or do you kind of like have a plan B? Or are you like, I'm burning the bridge, I'm burning the boats, and if then I'll deal with that when it comes? Or you like, I'm looking at A, B, and C? Or do you say, right now I just got an A and that's what I'm focusing on and that's what I'm heading towards right now, and then I'll deal with other stuff. I'll look at another plan A if something comes up. But how are you dealing with day-to-day situations? You know, we're like the next 2-3 weeks. What kind of keeps you fired up and keep rocking and rolling?
So it's definitely just like all my focus is on making it right now, and you know, just getting that opportunity. Because again, like that's all I've ever wanted. That's all I've ever needed, is just that opportunity to go out there and show what I can do. Yep. And I mean, that's what I'm mainly focused on. I do have, you know, like I have things that I know I could fall back on. Like I have a degree. I have,
because sooner or later football is going to be. I mean,
yeah,
you could play for 10 years. Sooner or later, you know, and when you could play 15 years, and it's like, okay, well now you're 36. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's still a lot of life left ahead. So when football is finally all said and done, for those that maybe don't know, what's life after football for Evan Greeneway when you're 36 years old?
So I got my degree in civil engineering, and then I started my master's in structural engineering. And so I'll finish that up when football's over, and then I'll be a structural engineer. I've got, you know, a job that I'm looking at that they had reached out to me, and they offered me a job before football, and I turned it down so I could continue to play football.
Nice, yeah.
And they were like, "Well, just let us know when you're done with football." And so, you know, there's some people that are like, oh, having something to fall back on is really good, and there's some people that are like, don't have a plan B because it distracts from plan A. And it's, I mean, for me, it was just a really nice. I think it helped me because it was like that security, knowing that, you know, I can go all out with this whole football thing. Like I can give it everything I have, and then when that time is over, like I'm gonna be okay. It's not gonna be that I've been out of the game for too long that no one's gonna want me. So it freed me up to be able to focus on that all the time, rather than be worried
worried about different things.
Yeah, be worried about that. If, oh gosh, if this doesn't work out, then I'm out of it. Like I don't even have any kind of job lined up that I could get. And I mean, if you're out of school for a year or 2 years, like what's an employer gonna do? Am I gonna hire this 21-year-old fresh out of college, or am I gonna hire the 24-year-old that took a couple of years off to go?
Sure.
Yeah. You know, which one am I going to do? I'm probably going to take the kid that's fresh out of college because, I mean, if they have roughly the same education and experience, you know, why wouldn't you take the younger guy? So.
You never know. Hey, so working out, what's on your earphones? What's on your music? And I don't know what the iPod, earpods or whatever. What do you listen to when you're working out or chilling out, or what's on your? If we pick the top 3 songs you've been listening to. Can we even say? Are they good ones? Or?
I don't know if I have a top 3. I mean, it kind of varies when I'm in here. Sometimes I listen to some rap, hip hop, just to, you know, I really love that beat. It like gets you going, and then, you know, sometimes I listen to like some hard rock, or, you know, some classic rock stuff like that. That always again, the beat is just something else that just gets me going. And then sometimes I change it up and I just like, I listen to like Jocko Williams. I know you talked about him, but like I've listened to some of his stuff like while I'm working out, just as like, you know, because he's got some really good stuff out there, and you know, some other stuff kind of like that where I just download that before I come in, and then that's what I listen to like as I'm going. And so I don't know, I kind of bounce all over with it,
depending on how you feel that day.
Yeah.
And we were just talking before we actually went live. So, books you read. You said you have been a book reader.
I have not,
because I'm a book guy ever since I've been in college. I've been a book guy. So I know you said you haven't been reading many books, but now you're starting to read a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of time, so I mean, you work out and you do this other stuff, and then you're like, all right, well, what else could I do with my day? All right, I cleaned my car, I did this, I did that, but now it's
clean your car so many days in a row, right?
Yep. Oh, I got that one piece of clothes on the floor in my room that I could pick up, I guess. I forgot about, so did that. But so I started reading, and my mom, who works at the bank, she gave me some like finance books and some different things, like what your parents wish they would have taught you about finance and secrets of the money market and stuff like that. And it's like different things. And I started reading some of those, and like that's really interesting to me because I mean, from her, I've always been really fascinated with like how the money goes and everything like that and how that all works. And so, I mean, that's just kind of the books that I had you know, when I was younger, I read more of like the fiction books where, you know, they were just entertaining, but now it's kind of shifted more to like, all right, this is like useful. I can apply this to life. I can use this and stuff. So.
Well, I just handed you the book too. Can't Hurt Me with Goggins too. So then I'm just going to finish up. This one I stole from Tim Ferriss, who does the 4-Hour Work Week, and he has his own podcast and stuff. So I'm going to read this one too. His question is: if you could put up on a billboard and millions of folks would go by and read it and know it's coming from you, what would your like quote, or what would like little thing that you'd like to put out there for people, what would your billboard say? You put it up on the road out here, and everybody in South Dakota and Iowa and Nebraska and Minnesota is going to see it because they're all going to come driving by. It's going to say the quote, and it's like Evan Greeneway at the bottom. What would be a quote they should leave and want people to kind of maybe take with them that says, oh wow, that's Evan right there, or maybe a life lesson or quote or something that you kind of go by. Throwing you in the hot seat right here, buddy.
I know. Millions and millions of people are going to see this.
Yeah.
God, I'd have to just say something about working hard. Just if you work hard enough, you can have it. It might not be exactly what you thought it would be, but if you work hard enough, like everything's going to work out for you. And I mean, that's whether the whole NFL thing does or doesn't work out. Like I know I've worked hard enough. Like I put myself in position to be able to do other things. I mean, I really want it to work out, and it's one of those things that, you know, it's been a dream ever since you're little.
You want a shot. You just want it,
You just want your opportunity, because then, I mean, it's tough to be able to, like, if you'd have to hang it up without even getting the opportunity, you're like, that's something that's always going to be there, like, in your mind. But if you get that opportunity and then you don't make it, I mean, at least you can know that you got that chance and you.
So let me ask you this, and we'll finish and wrap it up. When the door opens and you step in, you can look in the mirror and say, I know I worked hard enough that I gave everything I got when I had the opportunity. So you left nothing on the field and say, I wish I would have. Mm-hmm. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So when I went down and I played that game down in Florida, I had a team ask me, they're like, so if we draft you or we sign you as a free agent and then we cut you before the season starts, what might that reason be? And I was like, I got hurt. Because that'd be the only way that you're not going to keep me signed. So you give me that opportunity, I'm going to be there. And I mean, I went through my whole college career without ever missing a game. I'm not getting hurt either. So, I mean, arrogance or determination, you can call it whatever you want, but you just got to have that opportunity.
You open the door.
That's right.
Walk in. Well, I appreciate it, brother. And you know, if you ever need anything, we're here, but I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to. I think people get a lot out of this and just get to know you better too. So, and I think athletes listening to this just kind of get a glimpse in of maybe what it takes, because they think I think there's a lot of athletes that go, wouldn't this be neat if this could happen? And it's like you said, you can make it happen if you work hard enough to get after it. So
yeah, and I mean, especially like with you coming in and everything, I mean, I know that one of the reasons that I was able to go from having an okay junior year to having a really good senior year and having the opportunities, like I worked with you, and like, this program really set me up to be able to do a lot of those things. And I mean,
No, I appreciate that, but
like,
I'll pay you your money later.
honest, 100% honest. That's, I mean, it's true. Like,
No, I appreciate
I was
that.
a really unathletic, 6'7", 220-pound kid, and you know, your program really helped shape me into a college athlete and what I needed to be for that, and really prepared me. And then even working out with you before I went, that, you know, a couple weeks before I went to train, that really,
Right.
up in Minnesota, that really, you know, helped me get ready for that too.
Yeah,
So
no, I appreciate that, and we appreciate it. You know we're here if you ever need anything, so we're saying our prayers for you, and hope you're showered with blessings now and down the road, man. So we appreciate you being here.
appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
That social distancing, we can't shake hands anymore. So we appreciate you guys joining and listening in. Oh, well, I should see if there's any questions. Nice question. We'll see if anybody has any questions on here. Hi, Evan. I've been sitting back. Stay grounded. Good job. Mom's watching. Hazel. Kyle. Coach Bliss, how you doing? All right. Oh, Eric Moore says, don't forget to give a shout out to the lumber gym.
Oh yeah, lumber gyms got me right for my college and future pro career.
That's where Evan would go out, and him and Eric would be doing some lumberjack, and they'd be cutting down trees and carrying logs and doing everything else. So big shout out to Eric, who hasn't been working out very hard lately. I'm not even sure if he's doing lumber gym anymore. I'm going to throw that out there, big Eric too. So thanks, Greg, for joining us. Come join us again next week. Next week we're going to have Coach John Hoffman on, who works with tactical teams and first responders out in California. He works with police officers and firefighters out there, and special force guys too. So he'll be our guest next week. So appreciate you joining us. Thanks again, brother. Appreciate you being here. Thanks, gang.
Thanks.